Hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today we are going to be looking at this guy right here. This is Count Saint Germain. He was the Immortal Count, allegedly, but we'll find out. We'll dabble our nose and toes in it and see what the truth of the matter is. But in order to do so, we are going to be visiting Be Amazed, one of these big channels with lots of woo-woo content that gets loads of views. I mean, this is 13.2 million viewers, so no, my FetLife window wasn't covering it. It could have been, but it wasn't. There's a scroll menu here. Anyway, yeah, we're looking at Be Amazed, and I mean, these videos do huge. There's hundreds of thousands of views, and they're mostly nonsense. You got unbelievable historical coincidences and claims that the headphones are gonna wear down your skull, and yeah, it's sort of nonsensical. No, I can't hear, like, the music that's in OBS. I can't hear, though. Only you guys can hear it live. There should be new commands, though, I think. Let me see, because I reactivated some of them that I had before. Check this out. I got, hopefully this works. Let's see if it works. Maybe it will. If not, I'll have to update it. Nope, it's not working. Oh well, that's okay. Well, I'll get it fixed for next week. Had some sound files and stuff. Anyway, yeah, but Be Amazed. Be Amazed is who we're going to be dabbling with today. And we're going to talk to them about the Immortal Count, the Count of Saint Germain.
Achieving immortality may sound like the stuff of fiction, but this is the startling claim of a mysterious, real-life historical figure called the Count of Saint Germain. His existence has been recorded in numerous accounts throughout history, as recently as the 1970s, yet he never seemed to age, and sometimes took on alternate identities. He was sometimes known as Der Wundermann, or the Wonder Man, and has been considered—
Der Wundermann. I'm Der Wundermann. The Wonder Man. Die Wundermädchen? Das Wundermädchen?
Considered a prophet, a charlatan, a healer, a spy, and a visionary. But who—
I'm not a girl, though. Be Das Wunderfrauen. Das Wunderfrauen. That's me.
Was the Immortal Count, and could he really live forever?
Oh, I didn't know there was an alcohol called Saint Germain. I did get some American honey because we're going to start working on a signature drink for the Hive. It's going to be badass. I'm actually having Ben help me concoct it because Ben has some bartending skills.
This engraving, created by Nicholas Tomas in 1783, is one of the only known images we have of the Count of Saint Germain. It was apparently based on a lost painting once owned by the Marquis du Fray.
Yes, you're right. Frauen would be plural, but I'm not plural. I'm a one woman, so it'd be Frau, right? Just me. Frau Wunder.
One of the richest and most eccentric women in France. Although it would probably be best to start this tale at the very beginning, the origin story of this mysterious count is murky, to say the least. Exactly when the man who went, or goes, by the name of Count of Saint Germain was born is unknown. Most accounts suggest it was sometime around the 1690s. In fact, a genealogy compiled by Isabel—
I did take a little bit of German. Well, I shouldn't say I took German. I did the full year of the pandemic, I did German on my Duo. Our first 2 years of the pandemic, I did German on my Duolingo, and then one day I missed my streak. I had a solid streak all the way through, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not doing this again because I don't want to start all over again. And so I gave up learning German. Now that I'm in the Southwest, I should learn Spanish, though. Seems like Spanish would be a better language for me to learn. Hey, Spooky.
Cooper Oakley, for her book The Comte de Saint-Germain, The Secret of Kings, asserts that he was...
Did I get rated? Because somebody's out there saying they don't know how they got here. This is The Hive. I'm Bree, Bumble Bree. Live from The Hive is my Saturday morning show. I talk mostly about debunking woo and folklore and stuff like that. When we kind of like put it under the modern lens and trying to break down and figure out what's going on. It's a critical thinking Wunderbrie. It's a critical thinking program, basically. I just kind of have fun. We joke around. We get goofy. And we talk about monsters and woo and ghosts and aliens and conspiracy theories. So if you're into that sort of stuff, then stick around because that's what we do here. I am a cryptozoologist first and foremost. I'm also a former paranormal investigator. I don't really do that much anymore. So I have the experience to kind of know the ropes a little bit, and that's what I'm doing here. That's what this program on Saturday morning is all about. When we come at you live from the Hive.
Born the son of Francis Rakoczy II, Prince of Transylvania, in 1690.
I love the Immortal being associated with Transylvania. That seems to be the land of the immortals.
Meanwhile, various
Wallachia.
other claims state that he was the illegitimate son of Maria Anna of Plaus-Neuburg, the widow of Charles II of Spain, or even the son of the King of Portugal, presumably John V. Although we may not know for sure, he seems to have been at least some degree of royalty who was too removed by lineage to be able to assume the throne. Other rumors, taken less seriously, suggest that he was actually around during the time of Christ.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. This goes deep. It goes back to, there was a guy that mocked Jesus. We'll get to it. It's in here. But there's a few people that they claim this, he's the Wandering Jew. That's what it is. It's the Wandering Jew. Spoilers, but yeah.
And even attended the wedding at Cana, where young Jesus turned water into wine. The particularities of the Count's actual birth, life, and death are based mostly on conflicting anecdotes and legendary accounts, and it's safe to say he is, to this day, a living mystery. Before we dive any deeper,
so there is, there's a lot of anecdote, but there's written accounts too. It's gonna be fun. Punk and I still haven't done a Vlad show. We planned like 2 years ago.
Why don't you go and show those like and subscribe buttons some love?
They're talking about to my channel, by the way. You need to like and subscribe for the Hive. That's definitely what you should do. You should go out there and hit the little thumbs up button, hit the like button, and we'll continue on with BMA's coverage of the Count of Saint-Germain. But I do need you all to subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, and engage with the chat. That's what I need from you. That's what we need.
In return, but I can promise to deliver a whole host of weird, wonderful, and downright amazing content right to your subscription box. What are you waiting for? One thing that is widely agreed upon is how accomplished the Count of Saint-Germain was believed to be when it comes to alchemy. This ancient branch of natural philosophy seeks to elicit some form of supernatural...
Alchemy is just proto-chemistry. For anybody who doesn't know, and I'm assuming my audience is pretty learned, but alchemy was like the early days of chemistry when they were trying to figure out how different substances and elements and materials interact with each other and trying to get specific interactions, like turning lead into gold and things like that. There have been historically, there were some very famous alchemists who were also scientists, because alchemy was a branch of science at the time. It just got replaced by chemistry once better modern understanding of the periodic table came into play. Happy Pride to you, Pragmatic Crystal. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, alchemy. But Francis Bacon was an alchemist. Roger Bacon was an alchemist. Isaac Newton was an alchemist. So it's not, alchemy shouldn't necessarily be frowned upon by modern society like there's something wrong with it, because it did give us modern chemistry, and does have a lot of it did have a lot of influence on modern, like I said, Isaac Newton did have a lot of influence on modern physics. So yeah.
Natural change through material experimentation. This usually involved turning basic substances, such as metals, into other, more valuable substances. One of the main goals of alchemy...
The funny thing about alchemy and its goal to turn other substances into gold is that the ability to do so would immediately devalue gold. Gold would suddenly become complete, or at least non. Well, it'd be like what happened when they discovered how to make synthetic diamonds, right? It didn't devalue real, like, natural diamonds, but there became a cheaper alternative. So there'd just be cheaper gold. But unfortunately, gold is an element, so we're not going to be able to turn anything else into gold. You can maybe draw gold from the environment. There's, I believe, there's meteors and not meteors, asteroids in the asteroid belt that have like a lot of gold in them. We just need to get out there and get it. We can make wires for days.
Alchemy is to create something called projection powder, otherwise known as the elusive Philosopher's Stone, a concept made famous with modern audiences by author J.K. Rowling in the Harry Potter franchise. In alchemy, this mystical substance is said to be able to turn base metal franchise. In alchemy, this mystical substance is said to...
I gotta make my most manly trans woman face. So let me try this. Yeah. Okay. I just had to do that for JK.
To be able to turn base metals such as lead into pure gold. But that's not all. The Philosopher's Stone could also be used as an elixir that would bestow immortality on those who drank it.
Death Becomes Her, that's a good movie. I haven't seen it in forever, but there's a music video where Sabrina Carpenter and Jenna Ortega kind of review rehash the Death Becomes Her plot in like a music video. It's really good. I was just talking about it with one of my friends on Facebook, so I bring it up. Hello, Wraith. Welcome to the show. I'm Bree. This is my Hive, and we do a morning show mostly about woo and stuff like that. So yeah.
They speculated that the Count may have discovered this secret of alchemy, which rewarded him with his famed powers of immortality. Those who met the Count of Saint Germain were said to be astonished by his seemingly supernatural abilities. Upon meeting the Count in 1760, the famous Italian author Casanova commented, "This extraordinary man would say in an easy, assured manner that he was 300 years old, that he knew the secret." Now,
we're going to take anything Casanova says with a grain of salt because he's Casanova and he knows all the right things to say.
Of universal medicine, that he possessed a mastery over nature, that he could melt diamonds. All this, he said, was a mere trifle to him. No one likes a bragger, Saint Germain. Although he would eventually outlive them, most of the Count's travels have been documented by others throughout history. Despite word of his existence stemming back centuries, the Count of Saint Germain first came into prominence in the high society of Europe. After allegedly spending 5 years learning jewelry craft in the Shah of Persia's court, the Count arrived in Versailles in 1742, where he beguiled the royals and the rich.
You know, we're going to find out the secret to this, and it's going to be so disappointing when you all find out it's dietary and it's lame. Like, I don't even know if I'd want to live forever on this diet, but you'll find out what this man's diet was here in a minute.
Elites with his vast knowledge of science and history, his natural charm, and quick wit. There were no doubts that he was a man of great education. In fact, he reportedly spoke many languages fluently, including French.
Just call him a polyglot. I love that word. Ben taught me that word. I'd never heard it before. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to start using that in my day-to-day language. But how little I actually ended up using it, that's beyond the point. Count Saint Germain was a polyglot.
German, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and English, as well as being familiar with Chinese, Latin, Arabic, and even ancient Greek and Sanskrit. He was also a man of many talents. He was an accomplished painter, could play the violin like a virtuoso, was ambidextrous, allegedly able to simultaneously
You know who else is ambidextrous? This bitch. Yo, what? I am ambidextrous. But it's not cool like this, like it's showing here though. I can and it's actually sadder. The reason I'm ambidextrous is sad. I'm not like ambidextrous by birth. I was like the last generation of kids that they're like, you cannot be left-handed. Because I'm I don't know how many of y'all know this. I'm from a set of twins. I am the left-handed twin. So we can't stand for that. Right? We cannot stand for a left-handy. So when I was in school, the idea was to teach me to write with my right hand. Teach me to cut and everything with my right hand. So I do all that stuff with my right hand. I still write and cut and everything with my left hand like I'm in kindergarten because that's when I would have learned how to do it. Then, lo and behold, it comes to athletics. Well, I couldn't train my my left hand or my right hand to do that stuff, so I still throw balls and catch balls and swing things and twirl batons with my left hand like a boss. Yeah, so I became ambidextrous by default. So I write and do all the fine work with my right hand, and I do all the strength work with my left hand. Long story to go, saying, hey, oppressive society. No, stop pausing the wrong screen. There we go.
Compose a letter with one hand and poetry with the other. Basically, you had no hope of impressing the ladies at a party if this guy was around. The Count of Saint Germain was also thought to be very wealthy, despite having no...
He looks like super smug in all the pictures, too. He's got this... Expect him to do like the Bigfoot nod.
No recorded bank accounts. Perhaps this suggests he was descended from royalty, or even that he really could turn base metals into gold through alchemy. According to some accounts, he set up an elaborate laboratory wherever he traveled, and claimed to be able to turn several small diamonds into...
There we go. I set it up to do the mood lighting, and I forgot to close my window. I open the window because it makes it easier to do my makeup. And plus I want my makeup to look okay in natural light too, which is a totally different directive. Yeah.
Pearls into big ones, which he used to decorate his clothes. He was also a man of many quirks, although he dined regularly with...
Oh my gosh, you didn't know I was a twin, Kip? Yes, Mike twin. I'm an identical twin, so... I have a twin brother who's cis. Yeah. I got all the fabulous genes. You have twin daughters, Rafe? Cool. The nuns hit my friend's grandma's hands with a ruler till she wrote the right hand. Yeah. No one hit my hand with a ruler, but they would take the pencil out of my left hand and put it in my right hand if they saw me writing with that. And they got mad at me, which is weird because it's what I turned out being when they'd ask me to, they were filling out my evaluation stuff and they'd ask me which hand I use, and I would say both. They would get super mad and be like, well, which dominant hand do you use? I'm like, and I'd be like, it depends on what I'm doing. Yeah. And they'd be like, what? Yeah. Renaissance smugness in the late age of enlightenment. I mean, the idea, the folklore behind this guy is he is the age of enlightenment, right? He's the one who brought enlightenment to Western Europe. He was involved with everything.
friends for company, he was rarely seen eating food in public. In fact, it was said he lived on a diet of oatmeal alone. Anyone who had the pleasure of making the Count's acquaintance had no doubt that he was truly a remarkable man. But it was one anecdote from the year 1760 that seemingly gave rise to the idea that he was actually immortal. That year, the Count was in Paris when an elderly woman named Countess von Georgi heard that he would be attending a soirée at the home of Madame de Pompadour, the mistress of King Louis XV.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the name Madame de Pompadour? Because a pompadour, I think, like the Elvis Presley hairdo, right? Like or Beavis and Butthead, a pompadour.
Of France. The old countess was intrigued by the news because she herself had personally...
And irrational envy of twins is ridiculous because, you know what? Oh, 16 months, Ember. You slay, bitch. But I never got my own birthday. I'm the younger of the twins. Which is really funny because I was a girl and they didn't know I was a girl. So I spent most of my youth just mimicking my brother. And it was really weird because he was into stuff that I really didn't understand why he was into stuff that I didn't understand why we were into. The irony, right? It's like you're not into it because it doesn't appeal to your young girl mind. You want to be doing these other things.
Known account of Saint Germain when she was in Venice in 1710. When she met the Count for a second time, she was astonished to find he looked as if he hadn't aged a day. Naturally, she asked if perhaps his father formerly lived in Venice and went by the same name. To this, the Count simply replied, "No, madame, but I myself was living in Venice at the end of the last and beginning of this century. I had the honor to pay you court then." And totally perplexed, the Countess declared that this would be impossible, stating, "The Count of Saint Germain I knew in those days was at least 45 years old. And you, at the outside, are that age at present." One might assume the elderly Countess was simply mistaken, but there are...
Bitch needs to get her eyes checked, maybe. Madame du Pompadour is a legend in her own right. Also, Louis the 15th granted the first legal recognition of a trans woman in Europe. Yeah, Europe was always very progressive for queer people.
Reported accounts of the Count being of a similar age in Venice at that time. Author Karl Heinrich von Gleichen wrote in his book Souvenirs de Charles Henri, Baron de Gleichen, published in 1868, "I have heard Rameau and an old relative of the French ambassador at Venice testify to having known Saint Germain in 1710, when he had the appearance of a man of 50 years of age. The Count is said to have been seemingly unbothered by the Countess's discovery, simply telling her, 'Madame, I am very old,' with a knowing smile." Do you guys think it's possible to achieve immortality? Maybe you met some...
So, we're going to get to the part where he changes his name to Keith Richards soon. Just stick around. It'll happen.
One who seemed wise beyond their years and couldn't shake the feeling that you knew them in a past life. Share your stories below. I'm genuinely interested. Now, let's get back to it. A complete timeline of the Count's supposed whereabouts over the centuries, made up of mainly anecdotes, historical...
Oh shit, T.S. Christine Slays. You didn't know I was a doll? I'm assuming you're a doll too, based on your name. I just saw that in the chat.
Records and literary accounts is far too extensive to cover. Throughout the 18th century, however, the Count of Saint Germain traveled widely through Europe, using his seemingly endless knowledge of politics and the world to charm the elite. During the 1740s, he became a trusted diplomat in the court of King...
He came over from my sexy-ass Instagram. Y'all should check out my sexy-ass Instagram. I don't know which Instagram it was, though, because I got two of them. I got one for Hive Sci, which is what we're doing here. And I got another one for Spider-Gwen, which you'll see my adult content stuff popping up around here, because I like to play, too. I am a very sexually liberated woman.
Louis XV of France, allegedly performing secret missions for him in England. In 1763, he performed a similar function at The Hague in the Netherlands, which is where he met the infamous lover Giacomo Girolamo Casanova. In 17...
Oh, I want to hear that name again.
Where he met the infamous lover Giacomo Girolamo Casanova.
Giacomo Girolamo Casanova. Casanova is what we know him as today. But his first name's his first and middle name is hard to resist trying to say.
In 1765, he traveled to Russia, where it is said he was complicit in a conspiracy that placed Catherine the Great on the throne. In 1774, he returned to France when Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, if you look anywhere on the internet, if you see Hive sci, that's me, HIVESCI. If you see somebody else using it, let me know though, so I can berate them and be like, bitch, listen. I don't know what I'll say after that. Because, like, other people have used CrypticCorner since I started using it, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's like, other channels are using it, and they're getting more views than me, so what can I do?
Net occupied the throne.
Ryan, hey, love. Hope you're well. I watched your thing with Apostate Sisters last night while I was doing some thumbnails. Fun time.
While there, he acted as the Queen's mysterious advisor, and apparently warned them of the revolution that would follow 15 years in the future. It's really no surprise that Marie Antoinette gravitated towards the Count, considering that we know she was obsessed with maintaining her own appearance of youth and beauty. We know about the Count's stay at the French Royal...
Wait, what movie did Kristen Dunst play Marie Antoinette? She looked like she's stole the show. There's some roles that Kristen Dunst was not made to play. I don't think she was a very good Mary Jane Watson in the Spider-Man series. She was an amazing Claudia in Interview with the Vampire, though. And she seems like she'd be a great Marie Antoinette. This Mary Jane's like a fashion model diva kind of chick. Which I know, and then Kristen Dunst portrayed her as like a theater kid instead, which is fine. But to reinvent the character that way, but yeah.
Royal Court, thanks to translated passages from a rare book from 1821 called Souvenirs de Marie Antoinette, which was written by the Countess d'Ademar, an intimate friend of the Queen. She names Saint Germain multiple times and writes, "He appeared at the court of France long before me. It was 1743. Whence did he come? That is what no one has ever been able to learn." Once more, he is described as being about 40 to 45 years old, while his countenance, haughty, intellectual, acute, struck one at first sight. After his stay at the French court of Versailles, the Count traveled to Hamburg, Germany in 1779, where he befriended Prince Charles of Hesse-Kassel. According to Isabel...
I understand being immortal, how you get brunch with all these famous aristocrats and stuff, though. That's what I want to know, because if I know how to get brunch at Mar-a-Lago or something like that, well, I'm going to take that opportunity. And go have brunch in Mar-a-Lago.
Cooper Oakley, in her book The Comte de Saint-Germain, perhaps the most famous biography of Saint Germain's life, upon arrival, the Count told Prince Charles that he was the son of the Transylvanian prince Francis II Rákóczi, and that he was 88 years old. The Count impressed the prince with his gem collection and convinced him that he had invented a new way of coloring cloth. According to the prince's personal memoirs, he outfitted a laboratory in his nearby summer residence in Louisland, where he and the Count collaborated in alchemical experiments as well as creating gemstones and jewelry. For the next 5 years, the Count of Saint-Germain lived in an abandoned factory on the prince's estate in Eckernford. Local records state that is also where the Count died on February 27th, 1784. Talk about a plot twist. He was buried in a private grave on March 2nd, and his death was recorded in the register of the St. Nikolai Church in Eckernford.
Oh, he did die, so he's not immortal after all, right? Right? Oh.
On April 3rd that year, the mayor and the city council issued an official proclamation about auctioning off the Count's remaining effects, should no living relative appear to claim them.
Hopefully they were in better shape than that, though. I don't think that he had a old-timey radio or cactuses in his backyard, but...
Prince Charles donated the factory to the crown, and it was later converted into a hospital. And for an ordinary
adjacent to the line. That's an interesting approach to it. I live with, I have a roommate. I have two roommates, but one of my roommates you may know as Dr. Ben. That's actually, if you hear a little puppy barking and yapping that's Henry. That's Dr. Ben's little pup. So yeah, I mean, I'm not associated with the line. I'm friends with some of the people in the lines. I'm friends with Arden and Matt, and obviously I'm friends with Ben. Other people. I do run a different show with Stephanie Helms, who's been on the line, and Carly Chardonnay Webb, who's been on the line, and Ember Belrad, who's in the chat, of course, called the Transpositions. Yes, that Dr. Ben. Yeah, he's right. If I go through that door around the corner, I will find Dr. Ben dealing with his fussy pop. Yeah. For a long time, he was known as Student Dr. Ben, but now he's Dr. Ben.
Immortal, this would be the end of the story. But for the Count of Saint Germain,
He commented earlier. Yeah. Can you? Let's see. Yeah, it still shows him on there if you add him. He's still got this playing somewhere.
not even close. As we know, the Count was about as far from ordinary as you can get. In fact,
He's in
the
the chat.
renowned 18th century philosopher Voltaire, a well-respected man of science and reason, said himself Saint Germain is a man who never dies and who knows everything. The Count's death may have been officially recorded.
Voltaire, another very notable and wise source, of course.
But that didn't stop him from popping up again throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. In 1785, he was reportedly seen in Germany with...
Yeah, I have no allegiance to the line. Or anything like that. But yeah, I'm friends with the people on there. Yeah.
Anton Mesmer, the pioneer hypnotist.
Now that's where the term mesmerize comes from, is mesmer. And he was like a charlatan. We talked about him a bit in our psychic was it the Psychic Spy episode? Yeah, just like, because you have to start somewhere. Start at the beginning with hypnotizing people. Maybe it was we got into like MS-13 and stuff like that, because there are ways to jack someone's brain up enough to make them do shit. It's MS-13. What the fuck am I talking about in MS-13? I got this immigration thing on my brain. MK Ultra. Jesus Christ, Brie.
Masonry records, such as one account from the German Magazin de Weibsführer Verteilung des Freimaurerordens.
Well, I like you enough for all of us, Kip.
Also state that the group chose the Count of Saint Germain as the representative for a convention in Paris that same year. Countess d'Ademar even writes of seeing the Count...
Well, instead of focusing on who you don't like over there, why don't you tell me who your favorite person over there is, instead of saying, hey, I don't like this person, because it's a whole team effort over there, and there's some great people that work, and they do good, they do good charity work and stuff like that, so... Yeah, obviously I'm going to go with Ben, because... my livelihood depends on it's because Ben's just a good guy.
Multiple times more in France, including an appearance at Marie Antoinette's execution in 1793. In her book,
which apparently he gave her forewarning about. He's like, hey Marie, here in about 15 years they're gonna cut off your head, girl. My birthday week is over. Happy almost birthday to you. Yeah, my birthday is around the corner. My birthday is exactly a month away now, because my birthday is July 14th.
She writes, I saw Saint Germain again, and always to my unspeakable surprise, at the assassination of the Queen. The Countess
because of John. I know you had your back and forth with John Gleason.
also claims to have seen the Count 5 times more, totally unaged. The final time was on the eve of the murder of Duke de Berry in 1820, just 2 years before she herself died in 1822. But these aren't the only significant historical events the Count was reportedly seen at. According to the Freemasons, whom the Count was rumored to...
Oh yeah, Forrest is awesome. I think Forrest might actually be Saint Germain. Wouldn't that be crazy if... I mean, you do see the resemblance, right, between Saint Germain and Forrest Valkai. I'm not the only one.
To be a part of, a mysterious man bearing a resemblance to Saint Germain was also present at the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1770.
See, Saint Germain made America. He made America great again the first time. But it couldn't have been again because it was the first time. So, yeah.
75, nearly 10 years before his death was recorded in Germany. To avoid rousing suspicion, it would also seem that the Count also assumed new identities at various times. In 1820,
including Forrest Valkai. Doom, doom, doom.
Englishman Albert Vandam wrote in his memoirs An Englishman in Paris of a mysterious man he knew towards the end of Louis Philippe's reign, and whose life bore a curious resemblance to that of the Count of Saint Germain. He called himself Major Fraser, writes Vandam. He lived alone and never alluded to his family. Moreover, he was lavish with money, though the source of his fortune remained a mystery to everyone.
Can you call him and send him my way, please? I need someone lavish with their money to help get my hive buzzing off the ground, please. Be lavish with me, Saint Germain.
He possessed a marvelous knowledge of all the countries in Europe at all periods. Sound familiar? If that wasn't enough, Vandam goes on to write that, like Saint Germain, Major Fraser had the appearance of a man between 40 and 50, of middle height and strongly built. Major Fraser astonished the Parisian court, much like the Count had years earlier, claiming to have personally known a whole host of historical figures from Emperor Nero to Dante. But then he disappeared without a trace. Could he possibly be the same Major?
Someone could totally pick up this thread if they were like a history buff and did like some autodidact. Obviously, if you went to university and stuff, you're not going to be able to. But someone could pick up the Saint Germain character and continue the legacy to be like, yeah, I'm immortal. Somebody needs to, actually. Oh.
Major James Fraser, who in 1820 published an account of his journey in the Himalayas in which he said he had reached Gangotri, the source of the most sacred river, and bathed in the source of the Jumna River. In the last decade of the 18th century, the Count of Saint Germain confided his future plans to his...
Look, you can see that that's forest.
Of the 18th century,
right there.
The Count of Saint Germain...
Look at that, that's forest. Let's compare. Yeah, we'll use that picture. So, there's Saint Germain, right? And here's Forrest Valkai. Oh, hold on, not that one. Let's do this one because it's bigger. Ah! Shut up, Lucy and Aurelius. We're not ready for you yet. Okay, Saint Germain, Forrest Valkai, right? Saint Germain, Forrest Valkai, Saint Germain, Saint Germain, Forrest Valkai. Did you get it? I'm not saying it's true, but I'm just pointing out the resemblance.
Germain confided his future plans to his Austrian friend, author Franz Graefer. In Graefer's book, Kleine Wiener Memoiren, from 1843, he writes that the Count told him, "Toward the end of this century, I shall disappear out of Europe and betake myself to the region of the Himalayas." And, as if you weren't weirded out enough already, things are about to get straight up mystical. We may never know what really happened to Major Fraser, but Saint Germain's name found relevance.
I'm ready to get mystical. That's what this show's all about. We like when you get mystical.
Once again between 1880 and 1900, when the famed mystic Helena Blavatsky claimed that he was still alive and working towards the spiritual development of the West. Blavatsky was a Russian philosopher and author who co-founded the Theosophical Society.
Oh my gosh, and T.S. Christine Slays, are you in the Discord for the transpositions? You might want to join the transpositions Discord. Someone drop a transpositions Discord link out there, would ya? For the server. A lot of good people over there, including a lot of Lionhost actually. Arden's there. I think Lux is not there anymore, but Ben's there. Yeah, Josie. Okay.
In 1875, and gained an international following as the leading theoretician of theosophy.
Theoretician. Let's find out what a theoretician means. Theoretician. A person who forms, develops, and studies theoretical framework of a subject. So, I am a cryptozoological theoretician. I'm here for it.
Theosophy is an occult movement which centers around a belief in spiritual reality and that direct contact with such a reality.
Thank you, PC. I like flirting.
Can be reached through intuition, meditation.
I am a whore.
Revelation, or some other state transcending normal human consciousness. In the 1870s, Blavatsky described a group of enlightened beings she called the Masters of Ancient Wisdom. Unlike ascended...
Today, we don't have Masters of Ancient Wisdom. We have syphilis. That's for you, BB. It was an inside joke, sorry.
Masters, a similar theosophical group of masters, disembodied and living in higher realms like saints or angels. The Masters of Ancient Wisdom are physically incarnated in mortal bodies. As one of these so-called masters, Saint Germain is believed by theosophists to have many magical powers, such as the ability to teleport, levitate, and even walk through walls.
When has he been reported to do any of this shit? More Harry Potter nonsense. Fuck you, Rowling.
It may seem like a load of hocus pocus, but this photograph, taken in Adyar, India, appears to prove that Blavatsky did indeed know the Count, or at least someone claiming to be him. While Blavatsky sits front and center, the accompanying caption reads that the men standing behind her from left to right are Lord Cthulhu, Lord Moira, and, you guessed it, Lord Saint Germain. According to theosophical beliefs, the Count of Saint Germain...
But anybody can claim to be Saint Germain, right? It's not like there's a blood test where they're going to be like, if you're Saint Germain, then how come you don't have orange blood?
Is said to have adopted various alter egos, as well as numerous incarnations throughout his lifetime, including some of history's greatest geniuses and most iconic figures.
Is he going to be Tesla? Oh, here we go. All right. So, where are my Bible fans at? Where my Bible stands at? I'm a Bible fan. I love biblical mythology. Because we're about to get biblical up in here. Who wants to get biblical with this fellow right here? Because we're about to find out.
Believe him to be Cartophilus, the legendary wandering Jew who mocked Jesus on the way to his crucifixion on Good Friday, cursed with eternal life and destined to walk the earth until the end of days. Others think Saint Germain was once King Arthur's legendary...
So, the wandering Jew, right? The wandering Jew is Saint Germain. He's also the wizard Merlin.
Aid Merlin the magician, who supposedly lived from about the year 540 to August 584. You may think Merlin is simply a myth, but according to author John Matthews, who published a book called Merlin, Shaman, Prophet, Magician, there's actually more evidence to support the existence of Merlin in the 5th and 6th centuries, formerly known as Mirden, than there is of Arthur himself. Could it be possible that the world's...
Yeah, because Merlin was, as from what I understand, I used to be a neo-pagan, so I did like a, I won't call it a dissertation, but like a research project on him as part of our little summer project that we were doing, like his origins and stuff. And he's based on a lot of different druidic leaders of various regions. Multiple stories of these different leaders are all funneled into being about Merlin. Of different Pictish people, early Roman folklore, and also even folklore from Ireland and Avalon. So he has there's a lot of roots to Merlin. Like, you talk about mythicism. Here we go. Can we do some Merlin mythicism instead of Jesus mythicism? Jesus mythicism gets boring. Merlin did like magic and shit. I guess Jesus did magic too, but yeah.
most famous wizard was still dabbling in magic and alchemy centuries later in the Parisian court of Versailles rather than at Camelot? Dr. Raymond Bernard's book, The Great Secret, Count Saint Germain, purports that Saint Germain was actually the 17th century's famous statesman scientist Sir Francis Bacon by birth, and later authored the complete plays.
Francis Bacon, the Francis Bacon, who was also an alchemist that we talked about before, and he's going to come up again in another topic I have set up to drop onto the polls today. But we'll get to that later. I'm glad we were able to.
Attributed to William Shakespeare.
Oh, wait, that's not even going to be on this poll. It's going to be on the Week in Weird poll.
According to the Ascended Master's teachings of Theosophy, Francis Bacon made it appear that he died on Easter Sunday on April 9th, 1626, and even attended his own funeral in disguise. This version of events also states
showed up to your funeral wearing like a domino mask, though.
The Count of Saint Germain attained his immortality and physical ascension through means of alchemy on the 1st of May, 1684, at which time Francis Bacon adopted the new name Saint Germain. Other variations of the Ascended Master teachings go even further to suggest that Saint Germain was, at some point, also incarnated as important figures such as Greek philosopher Plato.
There is conspiracy that Francis Bacon did write Shakespeare's plays. There's a conspiracy theory about that, Kip. Did you know that, or were you just throwing that out because of the collar? Because that's for real. That's a for real conspiracy. Is that some or all of the works attributed to William Shakespeare were actually written by Francis Bacon? Is a conspiracy? I shit you not. You have a sexy leather Catwoman mask? Hot.
And Italian explorer and navigator Christopher Columbus, although these are arguably not as universally accepted as some of the other figures. The most recent appearance of the Count of Saint Germain was...
we are going to the El Paso protest this afternoon. It's going to be hot as hell. It's already heat advisory in effect. What's the temperature right now? Let me see. It's already 87, right? And it's not even 10 o'clock yet. It'll be 95 degrees before noon, easily.
Was in 1972 in Paris, when a man named Richard Chanfray announced he was the legendary Count. Chanfray was a public figure whose career in magic began in a Parisian theater, where he was announced as the man who could transmute lead into gold. He quickly became rich and famous through his exploits, giving divinations and psychic readings to various celebrities, and making a name for himself through his outlandish claims.
He is kind of good looking, too. I think that's probably what he had going for him. Most stage musicians are, though, like really handsome men. Not all of them, but the ones that find success.
Like the Count, Chanfray attributed his superhuman abilities to the art of alchemy. In fact, he even appeared on French television to prove his claim by turning lead into gold on a camp stove in front of the cameras. In the demonstration, he dips the end of some lead wire into projection powder, aka the elusive philosopher's stone, and returns it to the crucible to be heated. Once heated, it is removed from the stove and cooled by dropping it in water. Chanfrey then opens the crucible and presents the wire, which has now turned a vibrant yellow, declaring that it has been turned to gold. Following the demonstration, the metal was allegedly appraised by experts and found to be gold.
It sounds like maybe there was some kind of switcheroo in the dipping it in the powder would be my expectation.
The lead wire had been provided by the TV crew, while Chanfrey brought the crucible as well as the Philosopher's Stone. As well as observing the process firsthand, the crew claimed to have examined all the equipment and concluded that no special effects had been used. Of course, there are many who still believe Chanfrey.
Maybe we have to delve deeper into the Philosopher's Stone, too, at some point. Would you guys be interested in talking about the Philosopher's Stone? Let me know.
It was simply performing an elaborate magic trick, perhaps involving sleight of hand. Although the transmutation of base metal...
That's exactly what it was. From everything I'm hearing here, it sounds like they gave him the ability to bring his own stuff in, and he brought in a little thing and put the wire in it and then took the wire back out. It's a very easy place to switch it out for the other one.
Metals such as lead into gold had certainly become a possibility by the dawn of the 20th century. It usually requires a particle accelerator and a vast supply of energy to produce even the smallest amount of gold, not a mere camp stove and a pinch of supposed magical powder. Transmutation wasn't Chanfrey's only claim to being Saint Germain. In fact, he supposedly had a whole host of abilities, which made him just as extraordinary as the Immortal Count.
This guy's the fake Count, though, because we all know Forrest Valkai is the real Count Saint Germain.
When invited to old palaces or castles, Chanfrey claimed to have been there before in a past life. He would even demonstrate this by...
It rained here once. The other day. Last week. It doesn't rain here, like, ever, because I'm in the desert. But it did rain. It was exciting. We all went out and sit outside and enjoyed it. Because it's been so long. And it'll sprinkle every now and then, but it only rains for like 2 or 3 minutes, and it doesn't even amount to anything before it bakes off. But yeah, a couple days ago, we had some pretty good rain.
By explaining the layout of the house, providing the location of specifics like the location of the stairs, and
Love you, PC.
identifying secret passages. Of course, it has also been
El Paso.
suggested that Chanfrey studied the blueprints of these buildings, which may have been available to the public before visiting them. Spanish TV reporter Jose Maria Inigo also claimed to have visited Chanfrey's house, where he witnessed him revive a dog from the dead.
That's freaking creepy. Dude has a dead dog in his house. I'd be more concerned about that.
According to Inigo, Chanfrey threw some projection powder over the dog's corpse, which, after a few spasmodic movements, arose and walked a few steps before falling dead again. Unfortunately, there's no photographic evidence to back these claims up, but at the very least, it's a pretty alarming anecdote which aligns with the assumed magical powders of the Count of Saint Germain. But if you want to quiz Chanfrey further on the particulars of his reincarnation as the mystical Count, you'll have little luck, because he passed away in 1983.
He passed away in 1983, and then I was born in 1983, so do with that information what you will.
Although some might find it hard to believe that the Count of Saint Germain was really reincarnated as various different figures throughout history, the concept itself is not as fantastical as it might seem.
Are you implying that Bernie Sanders is Saint Germain? I know that may not be, I mean, they're probably just like his confused face, they're memeing, but it seems like it's implying that Bernie Sanders is Saint Germain.
In fact, the selection of the Dalai Lama and Panchen Lamas, the head monks of Tibetan Buddhism, relies heavily on the theory of reincarnation. You see, when the current Lama is nearing the end of his life, he speaks of the area where he will be reincarnated next. His followers will then arrive at that location with personal items belonging to the spiritual leader, and will ask the supposed next in line to identify them. If reincarnation has been such an integral part of the Buddhist religion and the Dalai Lama...
So all you need to know is to know a bit about the guy, right? If you know about the guy and his stuff, like you go see his stuff when he's alive and see what kind of stuff he has, you can be the next Lama.
Lama lineage, spanning back centuries. Is it too bold to assume that the Count of Saint Germain, as the master of ancient wisdom, relied on a similar concept? Since Richard Chanfrey's death, no one has claimed to be the Count of Saint Germain. It would seem that, having lived in the full blaze of publicity for so many centuries, this extraordinary man has simply vanished. Perhaps the immortal Count still walks among us, and is already involved in some of the most important affairs in modern history, waiting to reveal his true identity. Who was this mystical man who beguiled some of the greatest figures in history with his natural charm?
No, I don't speak Spanish. No. Most of my friends do, though. I'm like the weird one out. I'm also a full head taller than most people around here, which is kind of funny. This big bumbling Northern European woman in this beautiful desert with all these lovely Latin people with their caramel skin and, their dark almond eyes. Yeah, beautiful. There's beautiful people all around here. I love this city. I'll be sad to leave it when I leave.
Worldly knowledge and extraordinary talents. Was he really a successful alchemist who found the secret of eternal life? Was he a mystical master of ancient wisdom, destined to be reincarnated time and time again? Perhaps, as some of the more outlandish theories suggested,
Stay safe, John.
he was actually a time traveler, a fallen angel, a lone alien, or even a handsome vampire. Of course, we could also speculate that maybe he was just a highly intelligent man whose reputation became the stuff of fantastic legend. When it comes to the Count of Saint Germain, it seems like there are still more questions than answers, but if this marvelous history is anything to go by, we may not have seen the last of him yet. What do you make of the story of the Count of Saint Germain?
What do you make of the story of the Count of Saint Germain, the immortal Count? Do you think that he was Francis Bacon? Do you think he's Forrest Valkai? Yeah. Let us know in the comments down below. And please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.